Hey, everybody. One more.
One more.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good, I can hear you too. But thank you all for being here. I want to welcome Speaker of the House and Chairman. Did you hear that? Well, it was your introduction. Southwest Airlines. So we have a wonderful representative sample of 60,000 fantastic Southwest employees, and I know that they have some wonderful stories that they want to share, as well as some questions. So we have you all captured here with us, but I did want to brag on our people for just a quick second, and then turn it over to you. First of all, I think we're so proud of Southwest Airlines, and this is our 47th year. We're proud of the fact that we have made flying affordable, and we've been profitable for the last 45 consecutive years. We're tops in customer service. Never had a full run, never had a layoff, and I think we're probably, without a doubt, most proud of it. Even when we had $100 oil, even when we had 147 Yeah, we haven't lost money since the very first year of startup. And again, it's just a tribute to all of our people. We're very low cost, but I always like to quickly add that we're not cheap. We offer great service, and our employees, again, are famous for that. You all got a little bit of a taste of that. They got to meet one of our new higher flight attendant classes. So again, thank you all for being here. I think first, let me just introduce Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Kevin Brady. Kevin is a fellow Texan and lives down in the Houston area, and was the author of the tax reform bill that was so appreciated. And so this is just a great opportunity to thank you both for what proved to be very, very meaningful tax reform. But Mr. Chairman, would you like to say a few things?
Great. I will look. My job here is pretty simple. It's to say thank you. Thank you to Gary for your leadership, not of just of a terrific airline, but of the industry as well. You all were tremendously constructive to us as we worked on tax reform, making sure we got the principles right and the fundamentals right and the details right. So first, thank you to you. Thanks to the employees, the colleagues at Southwest. You guys do a terrific job continuing to grow, meet the demands of our, not just of our state, but of the country as well. Thanks for the terrific job you do. And then my final point is to say thanks to this guy, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, who, you know, he says he's from Wyoming, secretly.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I never say I'm from Wyoming. I never say that.
He's my brother. I know him so well.
Yeah.
So he says he's from Wisconsin, but secretly he's a Texan. So let me just say that. So you know, he hunts and fishes in Texas. His wife went to school here. Other than that Green Bay Packer thing, you know, we pretty much got him moving our direction. But I can just tell you as a Texan myself, but for his leadership on tax reform, this would have never happened. I mean, we, from the very get-go, we set two goals for tax reform. We wanted a tax code built for growth, built to grow your paychecks, built to grow jobs, built to grow the U.S. economy. And the second goal was to leapfrog America from nearly dead last among our competitors around the world back in that lead pack. Because we were tired of watching our jobs, our headquarters, and our future go overseas. But because of the Speaker's leadership, first as Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, now as Speaker, we got that done. In Texas, we are one of the top 2 states for job creation because of the new tax code. We expect to add 81,000 new jobs. Think about that. Add another Southwest Airlines, just to our state alone. Good paying jobs. What a boost that'll be for our communities, for our kids looking for jobs when they come out of school, just for our growth in the future. So I'm here again. Gary, thank you for all you do. And Speaker, you spend so much time and help us so much as a state. Thank you for your leadership.
Nice to be back.
Thanks, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
you're doing a lot.
Thank you again for authoring the tax reform. Tax reform was huge for our country, but it was very, very meaningful for Southwest Airlines. First of all, as we were discussing earlier, it just helps level the playing field within our country between industry sectors. And we were a full taxpayer, and now it just makes us a lot more competitive with other industries. Not to mention, of course, making our country more competitive around the world. And then, as I was talking about within our industry, we're a full taxpayer, we make profits, and it helps level the playing field with some of those that are perhaps a little less prosperous.
Who are those?
Our competitors, or at least some of them. But I also want to thank you, Speaker, for your heavy lifting on making sure that the passenger facilities charges remain constant, because that's just a pure fair increase for our customers. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Paul hails from not Wyoming, but Wisconsin.
Sorry about that.
But he is the 54th Speaker, I believe, of the U.S. House of Representatives, and we're delighted to have you again, and again, thank you for your heroic leadership on tax reform.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. I just came to ask for some more flights into Milwaukee. Is this the right place to do that? Yeah, because just a couple more.
There's somebody here who can help you.
First of all, it's just great to be here. Thank you, Gary, for your hospitality. Thank you for your invitation to do this. What Kevin and I do, and I used to have the same job, and he and I have been working on this issue for over 20 years. His hair looked like mine when we started.
It did.
So we're close friends. We've known each other quite a long time. And what we saw was a U.S. economy that was really lagging our peers in other countries. What we saw were U.S. companies, just to stay competitive, moving overseas and becoming foreign companies because of our tax laws. And then what we also saw were U.S. companies put in a huge competitive disadvantage with other businesses, sectors, in other countries, and we wanted to fix that to put a strong foundation underneath the U.S. economy. Strong foundation means more jobs, higher wages, more competitive, resilient businesses that don't go through boom and bust cycles. There are also a lot of other things that we do to try and improve our economy. We were talking about the regulatory state. We're trying to make sure that our energy policy gives us a solid, stable supply of energy at a reliable cost. And just the last year or two of what we've done in the oil and gas industry has helped dramatically stabilize the price of oil, the price of gasoline, and helps make sure that it comes from this country. So when we go to the pump or we buy a ticket, that money is staying in this economy, providing jobs for people here, and also helping our foreign policy. So the issues that we've been interplaying and discussing over the last number of years and months, I want to thank you for your engagement on that, because it helps us better understand how your jobs work here. It helps us better understand how the U.S. economy works. Southwest is a perfect, it's like a hub and spoke. It's in the intersection of so much of our economy, of people moving through the economy, of businesses, that when you can do things to help provide certainty in government and lower the cost of government and try and give businesses incentives to expand and hire, it really ripples through the economy. So we're here to listen. We're here to learn. We've had a great dialogue for a number of years now already, understanding how this works. We got another big lift coming, which is to redo the whole FAA system. So lots to do. You've heard of the infrastructure plan. Well, the infrastructure means lots of things, but it also means overhauling the FAA and getting the air traffic system modernized as well. So that's among the other things we're going to take on in this session. So the other issue we want to take on is getting people from welfare to work. We think in this kind of an economy, when we're producing jobs and wages are going up and we're hitting probably 3% growth, there's no reason not to get people out of poverty into the economy. There's no reason not to get people with the skills that they need so they can get good jobs and good opportunities. You're hiring here. You're hiring, what, about 8,000 people? So what we want to do is make sure that the Americans in this country who are slipping through the cracks, who don't maybe have the training or missed the first round of school, get a second chance. And so what we're trying to do is figure out how to do that. I'm going to be at Dallas-Fort Worth Catholic Charities tomorrow. They do a really good job here, by the way. It's one of the best Catholic charities in the country, is right here in the DFW area. And they're working on getting people from welfare to work. They're working on getting people the skills they need. What we're going to focus on in our second half of the agenda this year, transportation, getting people from welfare to work, closing that skills gap, closing that opportunities gap, working on workforce issues. So we believe these combination of policies, good, stable, reliable energy, a new tax code built for the 21st century, and then a springboard and an on-ramp into the economy for workers who've been displaced or who have lacked or haven't had a chance at opportunity is a great 2-year run for what we're hoping to accomplish. Coming out of that is a far healthier economy, a much more stronger country. And so that's basically what we're working on. And so I just want to say thank you for being so involved in such a key part of this economy. And I just look forward to having a good conversation.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, I know one thing in particular that we wanted to focus on this afternoon is just the benefits of the tax reform. So, we were able to put those savings to work almost immediately. We exercised 40 firm orders for the Boeing, we're with the Boeing company for more 737s.
Are they made in South Carolina or Washington?
They are made in Washington.
Washington. Okay.
And we also earmarked $5 million to augment our charitable giving, and we were very pleased with that. We're working hard to keep our fares low, and that's certainly, that reduction in costs, if you will, helps us do that. And finally, and most importantly, our employees. We were able to reward our employees celebrating the tax reform with $1,000 across the board. And
That's fantastic.
I think everyone enjoys those kinds of surprises. And what was very heartwarming for us is just the stories that were instantly being shared by our employees. And I know we've got some questions, but I think before we do that, I bet there's some stories we'd like to share with you firsthand.
Right.
Gentlemen, my name is John Chaussee. I'm the Director of Security for Southwest Airlines. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, welcome. So, like you, sir, I grew up on the banks of the Rock River.
Oh, yeah, where?
Rockford, Illinois, just down the stream. And like you, the value of education in that part of the country and throughout the country was instilled in us very early.
Yeah.
So when I got my $1,000, I knew there was only one thing I could do. I took that check, metaphorically, it was electronic, but I took that check, made the best paper airplane I could ever make, and sailed it 4 miles east to Southern Methodist University, where my oldest daughter is an undergraduate. And so my daughter Madeline thanks you, Southern Methodist University. And
That's all it costs, right? Just
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank
That's
you.
really
That's
cool.
great, John.
Good job.
I think of Magic Waters, Mr. Mustache, and the Metro Center. When I think of Rockford, Illinois, there's only 2 people in this room that got that right there. It is, yeah. I just drove through there yesterday.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. My name's Carla. Been with Southwest 17 years. Absolutely love the company and everyone at it. And one of my exciting things is I go to an annual beach vacation every year.
Where?
In South St. Pete, Florida,
Okay.
Pasadena Beach. Been going since I was a child with my family. And this year I got to pay off the condo early, and I'm taking my parents. So
Awesome.
God bless you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I support daily operations, and I'm married to an engineer. So last year for Valentine's Day, I got 3 brand new garage doors.
Wow.
It was really exciting. This year with the bonus, I was very excited to know that we were going to use that to buy a washer and dryer. I have 2 teenage boys, so it was time for a new washer and dryer. And I actually got a Valentine's Day. So thank you so
Are
much
they
for
red at
making
least?
that.
Were they red washer and dryers?
No, engineer again.
What a
For
romantic.
that, I appreciate it.
That's pretty good.
Welcome, y'all. My name's Caroline. I'm with General Counsel. But in 2 weeks, I'm actually about to start flight attendant training. So it was welcome to get that money to put towards those 4 weeks that I'll be in training.
Oh, great. Good, good, good. Hey, can I?
Hi, my name is Don. Work for Supply Chain and Repairs over in the Tech Ops building. I'd like to share something with you, and it really should come from me and my wife, so we prepared something yesterday together. I think I should speak in this, you could hear me better, okay?
I was about to mention it, but hey,
Thank
yeah,
you.
you got it.
A couple of years ago, my wife and Diana started a ministry of helping feed and clothe a needy family in rural Kenya. Also helping them be self-sufficient, and this grew into feeding and helping the whole village. In the last year, we opened a primary school and a community outreach center in that same village. Within a few months, the student enrollment exploded to close to 100 children and 9 staff. And we have that many more on a waiting list. We realize that we cannot financially support this increasing growth all on our own, but we could also not live without ourselves if we turn these children away, because we knew that meant most of those children would go without eating. So we made a decision to take on the extra children, not knowing where the money would come from, but believing by faith that God would provide. 2 days later, we found out we were getting a bonus. And it was exactly the amount needed to feed these people for the next 2 months. So I stand here, Mr. Speaker, so appreciative of the decisions that you and your colleagues in Washington have made to give businesses tax breaks. The result of this is Southwest Airlines, almost the first line of business, sharing this with their employees. This decision you have made did not just impact one employee or their family, but many children, and they're being fed, clothed, and attending school. You have given hope and love to the whole village in rural Kenya. And I can confidently say, I know God is here today and looking upon all of us involved, saying, job well done.
Are they Maasai?
I'm sorry?
Are they Maasai?
Christian?
Yeah, the village in Kenya, are they from the Maasai tribe?
No.
No.
In Bungoma.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
rural.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah.
So,
Thank
Wow.
you.
thank you very
Yeah,
much,
they've
guys.
And Gary, I think we still have time for a few questions.
What questions do you all have? For the speaker and the chairman.
The dude over there, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I'm Perry Clausen. I work in flight operations. Part of my portfolio is GPS navigation and community relations that are related to the GPS navigation. That's gotten some news lately. We're doing a crackerjack job on that. Huge benefits to the environment and society and that sort of thing. But it's being held up by relatively small groups around some airports. There's one household in Denver that submitted 1,700 noise complaints last year. That's 5 a day. And they probably need to get a life, but beyond that, they have an impact on the rest of us. Excuse me. They seem to be very adept at putting pressure on members of your body. And Would it make sense to set up something modeled on the BRAC Commission, take some of the politics out of how the FAA and the communities handle noise?
Can I ask you just clarifying question? Neither of us are from the Transportation Committee, so this is not our specialty. What you do in Congress is you typically specialize, so the transportation guys know this well, but are you mapping GPS routes for?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that's what you're saying. So there's there's households that are trying to basically throw a wrench in the gears to reduce your ability to map and therefore plot routes? Is that what this means?
Actually, the communities do it for us.
Yeah.
They keep track. And so we have a large number of complaints, but a relatively small group of folks doing it. There's an app in Santa Cruz County, which is, traffic is quite high there.
Yeah.
But you can, with 3 taps on an icon, you could submit a noise request.
And this is for the comment period that the FAA has for when they adjust these things for a particular airport?
Yeah, it's all tracked by the airports mainly.
Yeah.
But it would seem this might be something for federal intervention where you could establish some sort of a board that might take the pressure off your members and the pressures off the communities and come up with something a little bit more that, it levels it out. Again, using the BRAC Commission as a model.
Sure, last question. How much local government involvement is there in this process?
Huge.
Yeah. So that's where, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, I understand that. Yeah, that's a possibility. We're doing FAA reauthorization this summer. And so I assume that's probably something that would be considered as part of this process. There's always a tug of war between, from a federalism standpoint, there's always a tug of war between local government and national government. This is an interstate commerce issue. Mm-hmm. So this clearly falls under the Commerce Clause, which is regulating interstate commerce is something the federal government does do. But it's always done with a sense of partnership and respect with local governments. There's always a NIMBY issue with these things, but that NIMBY, not in my backyard, that NIMBY problem can really clog up, commerce and traffic. So this is something that our committee, I'm sure, is going to be looking at because we're redoing the whole system, or the whole air traffic control system this year. So we do about every 6 years, and it's due now. And we're hoping to get that done this summer, so I'm sure you guys probably have an opinion on this, and the Trade Association does too, so I didn't know about it, so thanks for telling me about it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Other questions?
Is that a typical life raft that you have out of a plane? Like the little thing that just pops up into that is pretty huge. I thought they were all yellow, at least they are in the movies.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, thank you all for coming. And thanks again for the tax relief. It really meant a lot to us. And thank you, Gary, for sharing some of that tax relief with all of us. My question is that, in politics these days, when we read the headlines, it's never been more partisan. And it seems like it's never been harder to be a Speaker of the House or a Chairman of a committee than it is today.
Yeah.
And yet, we're looking at some very big things that we need to get done. We need to push FAA funding down the road. We need to hold off some additional taxation. My question is very simple. What can we do to help y'all to do your job?
I'd say, go ahead, you give a stab, but about 80% of what we do in Congress is bipartisan. Yeah. You don't know about it, though. Yeah. I mean, I'd say probably 8 out of 10 bills you kick out of your committee are done on a bipartisan basis. Literally, 8 out of 10 bills that we move. In the House, we pass a lot of bills. It's the Senate's kind of slow. They have this thing called a filibuster. It's really frustrating to House members.
You had a record number last year.
Yeah, we had a record number. We passed a record number of bills last year for Congress. More bills last year in the first year of an administration since like the early 90s. So we were well over 400 bills. So we are at a record pace of bills. 80% of those are very bipartisan. We passed a huge bill about a week ago. Our concern with people know about the spending bill. It's an annual spending bill. We like to do them in pieces, 12 different bills, which people don't know about them, but because of the Senate's dysfunction, they get lumped into one bill. but we had a number of things that we wanted to achieve there on a bipartisan basis. Our military was really under duress. I mean, really being hollowed out. Any veterans here? I can see, yeah, so if you were in the military in the last 8-10 years, we had some serious problems that we had to attend to. Aircraft. We had the smallest Air Force in the history of the Air Force with the oldest planes in the history of the Air Force. So there's just one takeaway. So we passed legislation overhauling at the entire budget of the military, and for the first time in about a decade, getting our military kind of with the budget they need to give our men and women in harm's way what they need to do. That was totally bipartisan. So again, the tax reform bill wasn't. And sometimes there are things where parties just have big difference of opinions. You're going to fight it out. No offense to my friends in the media back there, but that's pretty much what they cover, because we're at each other's throats. It's theater. It's vitriol in some cases. It's polarization. But honestly, most of what we do in Congress, everybody gets along, we more or less agree, and we get things done. FAA, I can guarantee you, will be a bipartisan bill. The FAA reform bill that we will do this summer will be a bipartisan bill. It's a pretty big piece of legislation. So we've actually gotten a lot of big bipartisan bills done. I think what's going on in society today is my personal big angst with politics these days is identity politics is being practiced by the left and the right. Identity politics is a political tactic which I think is immoral and wrong, but it is designed to speak to people in ways that divide them from other people. And you can really push tough, harsh emotions by speaking to people in divisive ways, stirring up their emotions, and trying to motivate people. And nowhere is this more effective than in the 21st century with 21st century digital technology, with different social media platforms. So the politics of polarization, of identity politics, through the 21st century digital media platforms are as tough as they've ever been because of technology. So we as citizens, not just as leaders, but as citizens, all have got to do a better job of being attuned to this, not taking it, the bait, and trying to more civilize our sense of politics. But when you actually look at what we actually do, almost all of it's bipartisan. It's the stuff that's not, the 20% that's not, that captures 95% of your attention, because that's what's plastered on TV, because it stirs, it hits, it clicks, it hits, it's ratings, it stirs the pot. And that's something we have to figure out how to get our hands around. What do you think?
No, absolutely agree. People on health care, for example, you think all we do is fight over the Affordable Care Act, but in truth, almost every improvement we're making in health care coming out of Ways and Means Committee or Energy and Commerce are bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats work years together to come up with good ways to make our health care system better, and we pass it through the House and hopefully through the Senate, but it gets no attention. When we go back in April, we think a new tax code deserves a new IRS. And so Republicans and Democrats are working together to redesign the IRS to make it focused, a singular mission on taxpayer service, just as you have a singular mission on customer service here at Southwest, to do the same thing for that agency. Democrats and Republicans on our committee have been working together for years toward that end. You probably won't see much of that, because it's bipartisan and it's helpful, and it doesn't work in that divisive narrative. And I'll finish with this. I was listening to I like music, so everyone in my birthday's coming up. So everyone knows just to buy me iTunes cards. And so I was listening to a country song this weekend, and one of the lyrics was, if you just watch the nightly news, you'd soon lose faith with mankind. I think that's the speaker's point. You just followed everything online, or in that, I don't think you see the real true picture.
Yeah, that's right.
Other questions? Sir.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, it's an honor. Steve Cisneros, and I work with, this is my boss right here sitting in front of me. But a question I had is that based on, Southwest works really hard on the relationships we have with our airport partners around the country. And as we've learned over the years that other countries do it so differently.
Yeah.
The airlines are treated not as necessarily equal partners as we work so hard, and I think one of the reasons is that while it's under federal control, all the airports are locally owned assets, unlike the rest of the world. But there's also a push in this country to move towards privatization, and and I know there's the FAA pilot program. So I was just curious, since we have you here, what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
the
I like the
privatization
ATC.
program?
I like,
I'm sorry, I'm on the airport privatization
Oh,
program.
airport. Oh, well, I thought you were talking about the air traffic system, yeah. I like the air traffic system. You know, it's really kind of a function of local government in so many cases, because, for instance, did I mention more flights to Milwaukee? So, you guys, it's
Those are the guys to talk to, right?
So that's owned by Milwaukee County, right? That's been a conversation we've had, I don't know, for 20-some years, to privatize it, to try and get, local government wants to do it so that you can have better revenues, better upgrades, stuff like this. But the way I look at it is let the local government decide. I don't want to make these decisions in Washington. We shouldn't be micromanaging these things. Let the local institutions that govern these things, whether it's state, city government or county government, let them figure it out and decide. I'm all for it. I'm all for public-private partnerships. I'm all for anything that can get the private sector involved. Just so you know, all these infrastructure problems we have in America, there is no way we can tax you to pay for all of it. Yeah. It's not possible. There's trillions of dollars of infrastructure needs we have in this country. Just like the baby boomers retiring and our aging demographics, our infrastructure is aging. And so we're going to have to think of more creative ways to get the private sector dollars involved in infrastructure. And whether it's asset recycling or other kinds of creative ideas like that, with the right rules in place for the public good, I think it's all good. Because what it will do is it will help us get a modernized infrastructure, making sure that the public good is being served. And if government can get leaner and cheaper and more efficient and have more competition to deliver services to people, all the good. Look, I'm not a big fan of monopolies, whether they're government monopolies or private sector monopolies. So break them all up and allow competition to occur. So that's the way I see it. But it's ultimately a decision that we would like to just let those who own these, the local governments, make that call. Did I mention Milwaukee?
I love Milwaukee.
Good.
Brats, beer.
Come more often. Yeah.
He's coming your way.
It's coming our way.
Other question?
Yeah, up here. Oh, you're just saying one more. I thought you had a question.
We saved it for you.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairman. I'm Elisa Waldrop. I'm in the Continuous Improvement Team within Corporate Strategy. My question is, would this tax reform sort of make the U.S. quote-unquote a tax haven? Or if so, how would we compare to other nowadays considered tax havens?
Go ahead, man.
So, you know, our goal, we want to create a giant sucking sound of jobs coming back and investment coming back and headquarters coming back to America. We're already starting to see this. Businesses bring hundreds of billions of dollars collectively back to reinvest in the U.S. The old tax code said if our companies compete and win around the world, the old tax code said keep it there, buy something there, invest there, put jobs there. Our new tax code says bring it home to America, bring it home to Texas, as a matter of fact. And so we're not a tax haven, but now we're competitive because at the end of the day, for 30 years, other countries, they just passed us by. I mean, they just left us in the dust. So it was hard for companies to make the case we should keep our research, our jobs, our manufacturing in America. That's no longer the case. I was in Houston the other day visiting with the business, and they're going to see real savings from tax reform. And their board of directors were in town to decide how they would spend it. And so their decision was what you would hope it would be, which is new facilities, more jobs, and investing both in their workers and technology. Perfect. But they said, here's what you won't read about our decision. Those new facilities, they're not going to go to Canada. They're not going to go overseas. They're going to be built here in America. And so, yeah, this new tax code is going to let companies, for the first time in 30 years, make those investments here in America, which I think, I have 2 teenagers. So I want them to have all the opportunities they can when they come out of school. You know what I mean? One's going to be a welder and one we don't know yet. He doesn't know yet. But we want all those opportunities. We think this new tax code has leapfrogged America into the lead pack as one of the best places on the planet for that next new company or headquarters, we think that's great for the future.
Let me give you 3 examples. We think this law stopped what we call inversions. Inversions is when a company becomes a foreign company, and they do it through different ways. So, you ever heard of Johnson Controls? It's your thermostat. It's the #1 maker of thermostats. It was the biggest U.S. headquartered company in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. And Johnson Controls bought an Irish company. They could have stayed as a Milwaukee, Wisconsin headquartered company or become an Irish company. They did this a couple years ago. They became an Irish company. Their tax rate went from 35 down to 12.5 by becoming an Irish company. And what we were doing was, until this law passed, all the other industrialized countries in the world had what they call a territorial system. You make something in America, you sell it overseas, you make money. We have Harley-Davidson. That's big where I come from. You sell a Harley in Germany, you pay the German tax, and then if you want to bring the money for selling that Harley back to America, you got to pay an extra U.S. tax before you do it, so you don't. Nobody else had to do that. Every other industrialized country in the world said, you sell it in that country, you pay their tax, you're done, you bring the money home. Not America. And so what was happening was, not only did we have the highest tax rate in the world, above all of our competitors, if you made money overseas, you had to keep it overseas, so you built factories overseas, you kept your investment overseas. So we're not going to stop the transactions that happened in the past, like Johnson Controls, but we'll stop them from ever happening again with this new law. Second example, I'm just using Wisconsin businesses. There was an insurance company downtown Milwaukee, one of the big buildings downtown, thousands of really good paying jobs. This part of the insurance industry, they were all moving to Bermuda. So you had the insurance industry were becoming Bermuda companies. Why? Because of the tax laws. When this law passed, that company about 6 months ago said, we're moving to Bermuda. We don't have a choice to be competitive in our industry. This law passed, they stopped that transaction. They said, hey, we don't have to move to Bermuda anymore. We're staying in Milwaukee. We're staying in Wisconsin. So we think not only do we stop the bleeding, stop the inversions, make us more competitive. This watch was made by Apple. Apple had $350 billion overseas. Apple's, one of the biggest companies in the world. They couldn't bring that money back because of our tax laws. Once we passed this tax law, Apple announced an enormous investment coming back into America because they now can. And guess what? They're going to build up a huge research park and hire 20,000 Americans and put that research park in America. It may be in Dallas for all we know. They're looking around the country on where to do it. So what this does is it says, stay in America, make it in America, be American, and you can compete in the rest of the world and do extremely well. You'll be on a level playing field. And if you're big enough and good enough to make some money by selling something overseas, bring it back and reinvest in this country. That's what this tax reform does. And we really believe it's going to put a bedrock, a foundation underneath this economy. More jobs, higher wages, more American investment. And that's why we're so excited about having done this, because we haven't done this since the year I got my driver's license. It was the last time we did tax reform. The rest of the world passed us on. Now we're back at the front of the pack. And that's why this is done.
Fantastic. Well, please join me in thanking the speaker and the chairman for spending some time with us. Thank you. Don't go away because I have something for you all.
Oh, cool.
So I think on behalf of all of our folks here and the rest of the 60,000, thank you again for the tax reform. But just listening to both of you, congratulations, because I know how hard and how long you have worked for this time, and you deserve the applause and more. So we want to commemorate your visit here today to your favorite airline.
More of these lifestyle versions in Milwaukee would look awesome. Really just
And as Captain Smith will attest, these two gentlemen piloted and co-piloted the flight simulator and did not break it. So otherwise, I wouldn't give this to you, sir. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. This one's for you.
okay.
Very cool. And Mr. Chairman, this one is for you.
Sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very cool.
I'm just always picked the Milwaukee. Thanks. That's awesome.
So thank you all for being here, and this concludes our afternoon event, and I will see you later on.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, kid.
Great to be with you.